Hey guys, I wanted to officially welcome the FZ-09 to the channel. If you saw my last video, now you know what are a little bit of my plans and why did I end up getting an FZ-09 for the channel and for me, just to kind of go into a new project as we go into 2022. It's kind of something that I always like to do, just to kind of get into a new bike and maybe learn more things. But in this case, this is a bike I'm fairly familiar with because I had one back in 2015. I sold it. I kind of got a little bit of a regret, but then I was having so much fun with the GSX. But at some point, I always said I was going to come back to one of these because this engine is amazing. And I love the sound. I love the characteristics of the bike, and they just feel amazing. So today I wanted to kind of walk you through some of the things that I'm going to be doing in terms of like planning. If you're familiar with FZ-09, these things are just going to be bread and butter to you because you know what exactly happens with this bike. So for the most part, fairly reliable bike. One thing I wanted to mention is the fact that these bikes, I've seen a few examples. I'm just going to put a couple pictures in here with like 150,000 miles. So it's a fairly, decent bike. The weak point of these bikes is actually the clutch. So that's something that I'm going to be looking into, and I will get into more details. But essentially, this is a bike with fairly low amount of horsepower. You have a decent amount of power. I'm just saying in comparison with a Ducati or maybe even a GSX-S1000, like it's down on power in terms of like 140. That doesn't mean it's not a powerful bike. I'm just saying in terms of like numbers. But it has a lot of torque, like I mentioned before. So because of that torque, if you use it for lunges at a drag strip, which is something that I'm going to do, or if you are pulling wheelies or lunges at the street, there's a very, very, very high probability of the clutch basket actually breaking. So that's something that I'm going to be addressing. I just need to wait some time because I have to order the parts, and as of right now, based on what I know, only you can find billet housing in Australia. So I'm going to be ordering one, and so that's something I'm going to do doing pretty soon. So in case you're not super familiar with this bike, this is a 3-piston engine. Few things about this bike. It has the cage, the SW Motec cage, which I'm going to be removing because, for the purpose of like weight and whatnot, and not having to deal with this right now. It's a great addition. I will be selling it. So if you are in Arizona, be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be selling it super cheap. I just want to go back and install some Woodcraft sliders, which is something that's coming into the future, very next future. Then it has a full Acaprovic exhaust, which sounds amazing. I'm also removing the pegs, which is I just have to have a blanking plate in here installed so I can provide a hole and for a bolt to go through and keep this reservoir, rear brake reservoir in place. I'm still debating whether or not I want to keep this seat. The only reason why I'm talking about that is because for drag racing purposes, you may want to have something to kind of hold you in place as you're going down the track. And these, although I'm going to be lowering the bike, which is another thing that's coming pretty soon, I will almost feel like I would love to go back to the OEM seat because it's very flat and will probably give me a better position so I can get really inside the bike instead of being on top of the bike, kind of over the handlebar. So something that I'm still thinking about. I can probably keep it and buy another one super cheap. So something that I'm deliberating right now. It has a manual cam chain tensioner, which is another fail point for the early FZ-09s. So it has a manual one right now, so you can adjust. Right now it seems like it sounds pretty okay. So just something to keep in mind. It's filthy right now, so I will at some point wash the bike to kind of get a feel for it. I hate kind of putting my hands on something that's super dirty, and every time you're touching something you come out and you're super dirty. So that's something that I do not like to do and don't like to deal with. So it has also an MRA wind protector, which I don't like the looks of it. In my case, I do not like it because I just don't like the visors in these type of bikes. But I do have to say, I might end up keeping it and installing it when I go to the track, because that's going to be the difference between getting all the draft or the wind in my chest, or the ability to actually tuck into the bike and have the actual air going over my head with the help of a good windscreen, kind of redirecting that air. So that's some of the plans. So I want to go Woodcraft on the clip-ons, and I'm probably just talking to Woodcraft to see, as part of the sponsorship, if we can get some pretty soon. My biggest concern is just actually spending money on the areas where I'm going to get the most benefit out of, quickly as possible. Also, I will be installing straps, which I already have for my GSX-S1000. So I'm going to be stealing the one from the GSX and installing them in here. So that should be fairly straightforward. And essentially, going back to what I was saying, my ideal or my intention is just to spend the money in the areas where I know I can get the best bang out of the buck right now. So I need the clutch basket, which I can probably do a few, couple passes, but I'm running the risk of breaking the clutch basket, which, if it happens, then I can already have the part almost coming. So no big deal. I normally take my bikes on a trailer anyway, so I'm not super concerned, but I will, that's something that I would like to kind of spend my money on, because it will make my bike really reliable. Next thing will be the ECU and the quick shifter. So the quick shifter and the ECU are actually on the way. I think I mentioned in my previous video that I was going to be flashing with V-cycle nut. And I already talked to him. We talked back and forth about some ideas. So he's helping me with that. So I will be removing the ECU today so I can send it to him. And then I'm going to go mandatory quick shifter, which is in a standalone unit, very similar to the easy quick shifter that I had on my GSX-S1000. In terms of the ECU, which I'll get to whenever I do the installation, and I'll show it to you guys. Is the fact that I will be raising the limiter. I will be controlling my fans. We're reducing, air being dropped to the exhaust by the AIS or the per valve, and then doing the airbox modification as well. So all those things are coming. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and start removing this stuff. Okay, if I remember correctly, you have to remove this so you can expose the bolts that are holding the tank to the frame. A tab on the inside too. Yep. Make a little bit of spacing here. Perfect.
So you're going to be removing these two bolts, and you will repeat the process on the other side as well.
Okay, I'm gonna loosen. And now I'm gonna pull it back a little bit, because I don't want to scratch it with this is a more like shorter, lower. Just gonna scoot it back a little bit. Man, the GSX is much more easier than this. Okay.
Even though you don't have to remove the fuel tank in order to remove your ECU, I'm doing it just for the purpose of, have the space to clean the bike later, and then just to make it, easy, since I want to be here, working without having any issues or, affecting, like bending the tabs on the tank and whatnot. And make sure to put a rag or something, once you remove the electrical, connection to the pump, as well as the actual, fuel line, just so you're not, dripping fuel everywhere else. So at this point, you're ready to remove the plug from the ECU. So just, from the bottom, I'm just going to be prying on the clip that, or the tab that actually, releases the pressure on the ECU connector. So I'm just going to apply it on the bottom, and right away at that point, you can stop applying pressure, and then it's a matter of just pulling the plug out. To release the ECU, just pull these two plastic tabs out.
So it definitely looked like, it has never been reflashed, because normally they leave. I mean, they don't have to, but they normally do it, and they just add a sticker or whatnot. So that's good. So I'm just gonna send it now. And now I'm curious about any modifications to the flapper or the actual, mods that you do to the airbox. So I also want to know what type of air filter it's in here, because I would love to do a spring filter. So I'm just gonna take a look into this. So let's just remove the airbox right now.
So start by removing like the 78 different bolts that are holding down this lid. Man, there's so many, but no, just Jokes aside, it's about, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 of them. So now let's just go ahead and pull them.
Okay, OEM. I'm glad to see at least that's clean. Okay, it's an high flow filter and it's clean. So, hey, that's a good thing. I call that a win, at least. It's a little bit dirty. I'm not gonna put the tank back, so I'm just gonna take a second and then clean it up. All right, so this is super exciting for me. Just to be able to have, start to, put my hands on the bike. So now I'm just gonna take my time. I'm just gonna leave it like this with the tank on the side and stuff, because I still need to, take everything out for when I get my computer back. And then I'm just gonna take my opportunity to, order a filter that I can replace at the same time. Just kind of clean this up also, so I can get access, now that I can get access to everything. And then I can just, do the mod on the airbox as well. That way I'm ready to install it as soon as back alongside with the filter. If you enjoyed this video, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to kind of chat with you, and have an awesome day.